I'm running a different race.
Okay.
I can't compete with 18-year-old, 100 years of institutional knowledge, right? So I have to be different.
Yeah.
While I love making classic whiskey recipes, and I will always come at them in that way, we're going to do something unique, different, and fun here.
I'm your host, Jeff Sart. We're going to take you behind the scenes with the craft distillers who are pouring their heart and soul into crafting the next version of America's spirit. This is the Great American Whiskey Cookers. What does a medical student, a lawyer, and an MBA graduate have in common? Well, probably whiskey. So it only makes sense to leave all that behind and start a distillery. And where else do you do that? Well, you do it in the Midwest, of course, where the grain is plentiful. Let us introduce you to West Fork Whiskey, located in a suburb of Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome to this episode of the Great American Whiskey Cookers. I am here in Indianapolis, Indiana. The whole crew and I are. I'm standing with Julian Jones, Master Distiller. Is it Master Distiller or Head Distiller?
Master Distiller. I've got my 10,000 hours in, so
okay.
I think I'm there.
All right, Master Distiller here at West Fork Whiskey. So we found you guys. I've done some research, the way I do my research and stuff. You guys rose to the top of my list. And I wanted to find an Indiana distillery that was not an MGP distillery. Whenever anybody thinks of Indiana, they think of MGP. And I'm thinking, you know, there has to be distilleries in Indiana besides MGP. And that's how I found you guys.
Nice. Yeah.
So tell me about West Fork Whiskey, how you got here, what you're doing and what you're making. And I can see all sorts of product behind me. So you've been making whiskey for a while.
Yes. So yeah, thanks. You know, we were kind of there are three main co-founders, right? Myself being the science production guy, my brother being the business guy, and then our third longtime family friend, a lawyer. We were all doing our own thing. I was in medical school. My brother was in his MBA program, and the third co-founder was working at a whole life consulting law firm down in Florida.
So all sorts of whiskey background knowledge in your history and genealogy wise?
No, none.
None.
At all. The only thing that we had, thankfully, was that both of our fathers were whiskey collectors back before it was cool.
Oh, cool.
So when we were too young to appreciate what we had George T. Stagg. We had all the Pappies. We had every year, and we would finish a bottle in a weekend, right? Like it was no big deal. So we were doing all these things, right? We were spoiled, to be quite frank, right? So we would come back and taste with our fathers and have the best whiskey in the world every friggin' weekend. And then on top of that, us not liking our jobs and starting to realize that, okay, Kentucky thinks they make the best whiskey in the world because they have hard water. We've got hard water here. Mm-hmm. They certainly don't grow any corn, and they have been using Indiana and Illinois corn and other Midwestern states, Iowa being one as well,
Iowa being one,
to make this beautiful spirit that they literally don't have a monopoly on necessarily because of where all these things come from, where they come down. So we were young and dumb enough to basically cash in everything that we had saved, start on the weekends and evenings, keep regular day jobs, but quit our really hard day jobs so that we could just start trying to make whiskey.
All right, so I want to back up here before we go too far.
For sure.
You said one of them was in law school, right?
You were just finished.
Just finished.
Yep.
Okay, so he's taking the bar, getting ready to take the bar, and getting ready to practice law. You're in med school.
Yep.
Med school to whiskey is a jump.
Yep.
Where were you at in med school?
So I was starting my fourth year.
Hold on. Fourth year, you're almost done with med school.
Yeah, I know.
What the hell?
So a lot of people don't know, but you actually have to do an additional year after your fourth year of medical school to get to be any sort of functional doctor. But at that point, you're even only basically allowed to work for certain companies and say no and be the bad guy. And also, I went to one of the most expensive private medical schools in the country, so one more year was a lot of additional money. And I already knew I wanted to do anything else. Luckily, my brother and David are the consummate businessmen that they are, because business is not usually, I've become better at it, but it's not my natural cup of tea.
It's still your
Yeah,
science.
yeah, exactly. So they did all the particulars as far as making sure we had enough money, and they said, here's your allowance, figure out how to make whiskey. And it was not a big one, I can promise you that. And we didn't hire any consultants, right? I was fresh out of medical school. I also have a master's too. So I was basically a professional student until about 30 years old.
Oh my God.
And then I started making whiskey.
So the three of you, all right, so let's ramp up, right? So the three of you, you're coming out of med school, the other one's coming out of law school, the other one's coming out of business school.
Yep.
You decide to put together a distillery. Were you based here in Indianapolis to start with?
Yes, so our first location was right inside the 465 loop in an area called Traders Point.
Okay.
It's basically a budding business area where they have lots of those huge buildings that have
Little
20, 30, 50, 100 little slices of startup businesses. And in Indiana, you actually can't have any forward-facing tasting room experience until, and this has changed so many times, so I may misquote all of this, but at that time, you had to be open for 18 months before you could actually sell directly to consumers.
Seriously?
Yeah, so we had to basically get as affordable of a setup as we could, prove to the moneymen that we could do this and do it in a way that worked and was economical. And during that 18 months, it was just grinding it out there. I was our first employee. In fact, it was, we were just talking about this. The Indy 500 is obviously very big here.
Yep.
Month of May is very big for us. My first official day, I believe, was shortly after the 100th running. No, yeah, 9 years ago. Yeah, that makes sense. So my first official full-time day that I actually stopped working all of my other jobs
And started.
to make whiskey was the day after the Indy 500 on Memorial Day.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Holy buckets.
Yep.
That was a jump.
Yeah, and it took Blake and David, the other two co-founders, about another 6 months to a year to transition out of their jobs and move in full time.
So you're all full time here at West Fork now.
Oh yes, yeah, yep.
Right?
Yep.
And when was this?
So this was late 2015. We officially started in early 2016.
Okay.
And our first still was 55 gallons, right?
So it's
a glorified trash can.
Right.
And we made, as a lot of your consumers probably know, you get about 10% yield, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about 5 gallons at a time. Terribly small, right? Drop in a bucket. Unbeknownst to us at the time, it's very easy to run a very small still. It gets a lot harder when they get a lot bigger.
We're standing here at the bar, and you can see all the expressions behind us, but you have two different expressions. You have West Fork whiskey and Old Hamer.
Yep.
Is it Hamer or Hammer?
Hamer.
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 Old
Yep.
Hamer, and there's a Hugh Hamer in there as
Correct.
well, right?
And that's kind of a premium.
Okay, and we'll talk about that later, so, because I want to understand the differences. But the biggest difference that I think I've picked up when just talking with you guys, your Old Hamer is sourced from MGP, right? In the West Fork, you guys are making yourself.
Correct.
So you have two completely different expressions, flavor profiles that you're going for.
And our manufacturing techniques, everything that I do could not be more different because it was kind of developed in a vacuum. Like I said, we didn't hire consultants. So my process is terribly different from a very traditional whiskey making process like MGP.
Okay, so explain your process to me.
Yeah, so
Give me a rundown.
step back just a little bit, because I like to tell this story. When we were young and dumb, we thought, even though none of us come from much money, we could make every drop of whiskey that we sold. And when we started this company, we said, no way, we'll never buy from MGP. How dare us, we are going to be purists. We realized very quickly, unless you are very independently wealthy or a lottery winner, that is almost impossible. The cash cycle everyone that invests hates, right?
Yeah.
It's not traditional for the, the private equity people. They like to see money quickly.
Yeah.
We're talking about 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 years. You put all this money back, right? And you look at it and you kind of pray that it's going to be good.
Right.
So after a couple years of fighting that battle, we said, okay, we need something to help us grow. But that something needs to be something meaningful to us and meaningful to Indiana.
Okay.
Luckily, at that time, when we got a hold of MGP, one of the biggest probably the biggest
they are the biggest
contract manufacturer in the world,
Yeah.
we said, hey, we're from Southern Indiana. We're a high corn whiskey, high corn bourbon company. What do you got? And they said, well, we just happen to have been making this 99% corn, 1% malted barley recipe that no one is buying. It really doesn't have a market because it's so unique.
So you're buying, it's older sourced MGP whiskey.
We basically have, from the latest estimates my brother has given me, we own about 90% of the 99% corn, 1% malted barley recipe. So much so that we have the oldest, the stuff that they made almost 12 years ago now, that we are going to release an Oldhamer 12 next year.
Oh, wow.
But also we are on contract with them every year, and they make us thousands and thousands of barrels.
So that's where the majority of that's coming, or all the Oldhamer stuff.
Correct.
And that's how you were able to get some cash flow,
Yep.
make the business work, get some cash flow coming
And
in.
start to fund our own whiskey making operations.
And that's always important because it takes a lot of money.
We did some research actually from where we are from in Southern Indiana. About 15 minutes from my house was one of the largest whiskey distilleries in the country from about 1820 until the late 1800s. It's the old Hamer Farm. They're the Hamer Farm.
Okay.
There is no surviving recipe. Everyone says it was the best high corn bourbon around at the time. So we dove into that history a little bit and found that the old Hamer brand was actually a abandoned trademark, so we could just pick it up. And so we kind of ran from there.
Okay, so you guys started in 2016, it's 2025 right now, so 9 years. You've been ready to release, I think all the whiskey geeks are gonna ask this, right? And we've kind of covered it, but I want you to go into just a little bit more detail.
For sure.
You're 9 years old. Next year, you're releasing a 12-year-old whiskey.
Yep.
Right?
The beauty of sourcing.
The beauty of sourcing. And so are you transparent about that on the back of your bottle?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're transparent about it every way we can be. It's on the bottle. We talk about it. We talk about our awesome partnership and relationship with MGP. They are beautiful people down there. They make some of the best whiskey in the world.
They make some great whiskey.
And a lot of people don't know that, shoot, if you've probably had a rye whiskey off the shelf in the last couple of years, no matter what the label is, it's made right down in Lawrenceburg, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of,
But also bourbon, right? There are so many bourbons out there that people try and say, hey, we produced it.
Yeah.
And it's actually MGP.
One last question before we close this episode out, especially since you're the one making the whiskey.
Yep.
I ask all craft distillers this question. Why is it you think you can make a whiskey that competes with big bourbons?
I honestly, the short answer is I can't yet. My stuff is different, and that's how I differentiate myself, right?
Okay.
So my oldest bourbon, even though I'm 9, 10 years old as a distiller right now, is only 4 years old. We've had the good and bad fortune of selling everything we've made. So we are not trying to out Kentucky. We are very open and honest about that. What we are going to do is going to be different. It's going to be unique and very Indiana in that almost all of my bourbons, except for a few on the Distiller's Collection, which we'll get into, are super high corn. And we have some very interesting high corn recipes that have not been done at scale that are coming up. So the way that I like to say is I'm running a different race.
Okay.
I can't compete with 18-year-old, 100 years of institutional knowledge, right? So I have to be different.
Yeah.
While I love making classic whiskey recipes, and I will always come at them in that way, we're gonna do something unique, different, and fun here.
Very cool. So where do they find you? How do they get in touch with you? Is that what I look for you?
Yep, westforkwhiskey.com is the best way. That's our website. We partner with a bunch of the new distribution through the online shipping program, so you can actually buy directly from our website.
Okay, so anywhere they can get you
Yep.
with.
If you're one of the states that can have alcohol shipped to you, and that seems to change all the time, I have a list up front because I usually have to look at it myself.
Right.
I know we can't ship to Indiana, which is strange, right?
That's a little bad.
I mean, that's like, you know, places in Kentucky that you used to be able to drink in the actual county that they made all the booze.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit of a roundabout, but the best way is to go to our website, because especially if you're in a state that we distribute to, we have put significant effort into making sure that if you type in your address, zip code, whatever, you will find the closest place you can buy us. And if not, if you don't have one of those places, you can buy it online.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Julian, thank you. I appreciate this. This has been all sorts of fun.
For sure.
Keep watching. We have a whole bunch more episodes coming on West Fork Whiskey. If you haven't already, like us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, if it works. Go to Patreon and become a member. You can see some behind the scenes stuff, and we would really appreciate it. If you've ever had West Fork Whiskey, comment on the video and let us know. Julian, cheers. Until next time, if you can't be good at it. That's a pretty decent whiskey. I like it.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one for us because
It's a good base. I like it. I mean,
it's very affordable. So this is our 80 proof. This is supposed to be our most approachable. It's a mix of our high rye bourbon that I make, our wheated bourbon that I make, and then we add just a little bit of Old Heyman
oh, wow.
recipe.
I like that.